trying to see if Lucy's going to start barking, and then that's really annoying. There she goes. So hold on just 1 second. I'm going to try to get my dog to calm down so that we can learn how to make homemade mac and cheese. I'll be right back. Oh, welcome back. We are making mac and cheese, and I think you're gonna love it. I hope I do. I'm gonna be doubling everything for my family. The ingredients you're gonna need is, let's see, you will need butter. I don't need that much butter. Okay. Flour. You will also need salt, which I don't know, I don't have it out yet. And you will need milk, American cheese, and macaroni. Okay, so the very first thing that it says to do is to fill a medium saucepan. So you're gonna be using a medium and a small. Medium saucepan, half full with water, and then add 1/4 teaspoon salt to the water. Set the temperature on high, bring water to a boil. This part is the most time-consuming part. I have put my medium saucepan, and I have filled it already halfway full with water. A little bit more for mine because I'm going to be making a little bit more. And I need to add my salt. My 1/4 teaspoon salt. And I'm going to pour it over a custard cup or a bowl or whatever. This is my 1/4 teaspoon. Come on, little nugget. Voila. Add that to my water. I'm doing mine twice because I'm making more than you are. So then I'm going to turn it all the way up to high. If your station does have a lid, go ahead and put it on because it'll help it start heating up quicker. This is probably going to be the most time-consuming part. Like I said earlier, it just takes a while for our water to heat up. So I'm going to go ahead and let my water heat up to a boil. Then I'll be adding my mac of the mac and cheese. So I'll see you here after my water has started to boil. Okay, so while my water is boiling, I'm waiting for it to boil. I'm going to go ahead and measure out my 1 3/4 cup of elbow macaroni noodles. So I have my 1 cup that I've already filled all the way to the top here. And then I don't have a 3/4 cup, but I do have a 1/4 cup. So I'm going to fill that up 3 times. And I want to make sure I get it all the way to the top without going too far over. So I'm going to take a couple of those noodles out here. La-di-da. There's my 1/4. Stick these back in there. There's my 2/4, and then I need 1 more to make 3/4. There is my 3/4, 1 3/4 cup. I'll be right back. Still waiting for that water to boil. Like I said, it takes forever. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 3/4 cup milk ready and my cheese cubed, which I think is kind of an interesting way of describing cubed. Because they're cheese slices. It's more like cutting them into squares than it is cubing them. But your recipe says cubing. So I'm going to find my 3/4 cup line, which I don't have. If you zoom in on here, mine does not have a 3/4 cup line. Okay, yours might say 3/4 cup, but there is my half line. Here is my 3/4 cup line, and here's my 1 cup. So when I go to get my milk in there, I want to make sure that I look. Right now I'm just about at a half. I want to get it eye level to make sure that I have just the right amount. And if I go over, I need to pour some back. That looks right on the money for 3/4 cup. So there is my 3/4 cup milk. Then the next step, not really step, I'm kind of going all types of out of order here. It says to cube 4 American cheese slices. I've got my 4 American cheese slices here. And it just means that we're going to cut these into smaller pieces so that they'll melt easily. They're kind of ripping more than anything. Because if you go and just put a whole slice in there, and they'll kind of stick together, it's not going to be perfect. But the smaller the pieces, it'll just distribute a little bit easier. So I'm just taking them and kind of making little slices into squares, if you will. So that's what somebody in your kitchen should be doing while you're waiting on that water to boil. Because everybody should be doing something. We shouldn't all just be standing around watching water boil. That's silly. This right here takes time to do. So you should be getting all your other measurements taken care of while you're waiting for that water to boil. I'm going to continue slicing all my cheese, getting it ready to go, and then I will visit back with you here in a minute. Okay, so as you can see, I have a nice boil going. It's not boiling over the top. You have to be careful to make sure that when you have that lid on, it's not boiling over onto the stove. And you're going to have to continue to watch that when we put our macaroni noodles in. I'm putting a lot more in than what you guys are putting in, okay? And then we're going to set that, let it boil. It's going to look like it's not boiling anymore while your noodles are in there. That's okay. I'm leaving it on high. And I believe the recipe, hold on, you just stay right there. I believe the recipe said to boil for 5 to 6 minutes, but I'm going to double check that. It says cook noodles until tender, about 6 to 8 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and set my timer for 8 minutes because I can tell that mine is not really at a rolling boil too much, okay? If I want to put my lid back on to get that heat going, I can. Very important that you do not walk away from that, because what I do not want to see is somebody leaving their pan unattended and having hot water boiling over the sides. That's absolutely not acceptable. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let that boil. Then I'm going to move on to the next recipe that says while the noodles are, sorry, not recipe, next direction. While the noodles are cooking, melt butter in a small saucepan. So here I have my medium saucepan. Here is my small saucepan. Add flour and stir with wooden spoon to make a smooth paste. This smooth paste is called a roux, and it's spelled R-O-U-X, and it's like a thickening agent that's used in soups. So I'm going to get my butter melted. And to melt butter, it doesn't need to be on high. I can just put it in there maybe on medium heat. And then once it's melted, I'll add my 1 1/2 tablespoon flour. Okay, so we're going to get that going. And you might want to give it a little stir every once in a while. Just so my noodles don't stick to the bottom of the pan. And kind of lift here. And you can see that the butter is starting to melt. So I'm going to let that kind of get situated, and then we will be back here in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and get the flour measured for my roux because the butter's all melted, ready to go. So it calls for 1 1/2 tablespoons. So there's my 1. Very important to measure this correctly. And then my 1/2 tablespoon. And I'm going to add this to my butter here in just one moment. So now my noodles are ready. So I'm going to use my colander and get my noodles in there. Whoa, flying noodles. So you want to be really careful when you're transferring the pot to the sink, that you're making sure that you are being very, very safe and that everyone is cleared out of the way. I'm going to finish my roux over here. So I've got my melted butter going on. I went ahead and turned it to low while I was waiting for the person measuring to get done with the flour. So now I'm going to add my flour mixture. And I'm going to stir that. And it kind of makes like a paste. This is that thickening agent. A roux is a thickening agent used in sauces and stews, like I said before. Hint, hint, might be on a test. Okay, so you can kind of see it's like a little paste, almost. Now I'm going to add my milk to that. And I'm going to just stir it with my wooden spoon until it thickens. Excuse my husband talking on the phone very loudly. Kind of what he does. So I'm going to stir, stir, stir. And it starts off really runny, so it's not like you can have a quick stir. Can't go real fast. It's just going to keep going back and forth. And you're going to notice as it heats up, it's going to start thickening. I may even turn this up just a little. What I don't want to do is turn my heat too high. It'll scorch the milk, and it won't be a nice sauce. So you'll feel it start to thicken. I'm not feeling it thickening yet. So you'll just sit and stir. So someone is going to get kind of bored doing that. I promise you that. Keeping stirring. Once mine thickens, I'll come back to you. Okay, so I will tell you that this waiting for the milk to thicken, and when I say thicken, it's not like a thick, as you can see how runny that still is, but you'll be able to tell a difference when it's thickened. It took about 5 minutes for that to happen. So for the sake of time, you guys are gonna have to have your game on when you're making these. So when the person who is in charge of getting those noodles boiled is doing that, the other team needs to be working on this roux. Okay, so now I've got this thickened sauce going, and I had even turned, if you'll look up here, I had even turned my heat to a medium, and that's pushing it. Okay, you don't want to go any higher up to high because then you're going to get a scorched milk. Okay, but now I've got a thickened sauce going, so I'm ready to add my cheese, and you may just want to use your hands rather, so they don't end up in one big blob. And you're just going to get this all stirred and melted in there. And that melting part shouldn't take long to do. So you're just going to stir. I'm going to turn my heat down just a little. And make sure you don't walk away from it. You want to stir it. And this is going to get thick quick. You can still see the chunks of the cheese, but it won't take long to melt. You can see that creaminess. This is almost melted. I have taken my noodles from the colander and I've put them back, if you will video this, I've put them back in my pasta or my medium saucepan there. I'm thinking we may want to use a bigger mixing bowl because once I add that sauce in here, it's going to be really hard to stir. So I think I probably needed to use a mixing bowl instead of this. So, note to self. Okay, so we can see it's almost there. I can feel just a few clumps still in there, so let's keep going. Stir, stir, stir. Okay, I've got all my clumps out, all nice and melted. It ends up being kind of a creamy color. I'm I'm going to turn my heat off, and then we're going to add my sauce. And again, you're going to be using a bigger sauce or a bigger mixing bowl, and you're just going to add all that luscious sauce and mix it in there. If you are one that likes less sauce, you could always add the sauce separate, kind of like you would with spaghetti. You know how sometimes people will make spaghetti and they'll add and mix the sauce in, and sometimes people will mix it or leave it separate and have the sauce kind of on top. So you'll just kind of mix that. Look at that lusciousness. So my family's going to love this, I can already tell. We're eating ours with hot dogs. Well, they are. I don't eat hot dog, but everybody else likes hot dogs. So they're having hot dogs and mac and cheese tonight. Enjoy your cooking.
Cooking with Karla! I won't be round this old town, getting more for a long, long time. Gonna hit the road, start looking for the end of that long white line. Gonna hit the road, start looking for the end of that long white line. Well, I woke up, my baby was gone. Without her, don't need no home. Gonna hit the road, start looking for the end of that long white line. Gonna hit the road, start looking for the end of that long white line. Went to the bank, get my dough. I don't care where I go. Gonna push that rig till I push that girl out of my mind. If somebody wants to know what's become of this so-and-so, tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line. Tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line. New York City, old St. Joe, Albuquerque, New Mexico. This old rig is humming and rolling, she's doing fine. If somebody wants to know what's become of this so-and-so, tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line. Tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line. Come on now. Albuquerque, New Mexico. This old rig is humming and rolling, she's doing fine. If somebody wants to know what's become of this so-and-so, tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line. Tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line. I won't be round this old town, it's more a long, long time. Gonna hit the road, start looking for the end of that long white line. Tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line.